Finding strength in solitude seems almost foreign in a world that often equates personal value with the size of one's social network and constant external praise. Modern society pushes us to measure our worth by the approval we receive, the connections we cultivate, and the number of people we surround ourselves with. Yet, ancient wisdom stands in stark contrast to these fleeting ideals. A wisdom that teaches us to seek strength not in the external, but in the stillness of our minds. The Stoic philosophers, such as Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood a profound truth. True peace does not arise from the approval of others or the crowd's clamor, but from the quiet contemplation of one's soul. It is within the silence that we discover the deepest corners of our character, untainted by the ever-changing judgments of the world. The man who chooses to walk alone, unbound by the need for companionship or applause, finds a steadfastness and clarity that cannot be easily shaken within himself. This strength is not born out of isolation or loneliness, but out of a profound understanding of oneself, of one's values, purpose, and the quiet voice that calls from within. For those who embrace the ancient philosophy of Stoicism, this path is not one of rejection but of radical self-awareness. It is a call to turn inward, to face oneself without distraction, and to find an unshakable peace that transcends the noise of external validation. In solitude, we encounter not emptiness but the potential to become more deeply connected to our most authentic selves. This journey is not for the faint of heart, for it requires courage. The courage to step away from the world's expectations, to detach from the fleeting accolades of society, and to stand firm in the knowledge that our value comes not from others, but from within. As we explore the essence of Stoic resilience, we invite you to reflect on this. True strength lies not in the crowd, but in the sanctuary of silence. Are you ready to embrace the challenge of finding the rare and lasting power that comes from within? Let us embark on this journey together and discover the unshakable peace of true self-mastery. 1. Strength in solitude. In a world where finding true strength in solitude is both revolutionary and ancient in often defining a person's worth by their social standing or the constant flow of external approval, finding truth alone is viewed with trepidation, a state to be avoided at all costs. Yet, the Stoic philosophers understood something more profound. Solitude is not a void to be feared, but a fertile ground where true strength is cultivated. The man who walks the solitary path does not do so out of necessity or bitterness. He does so because he has discovered a power within himself that needs no validation from others. This is not to suggest that solitude is a form of rejection, but rather an intentional retreat. A choice to turn inward, away from the world's distractions, to nurture the mind and soul. In solitude, one is free from the incessant noise of others' opinions and the pressure to conform. In this silence, a man encounters his most authentic self, stripped of pretense and societal expectations. A man who has learned to stand firm in his solitude is a man who has mastered the art of self-reliance. He does not depend on others for his sense of value or direction, for he knows that his worth comes from the clarity of his convictions and the steadfastness of his inner peace. The Stoic ideal teaches that strength is not defined by the crowd's applause or the number of friends one has, but by the ability to find stillness within oneself, regardless of external circumstances. In this stillness, we encounter not weakness, but an undeniable fortitude. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, who reminded himself daily to find serenity in the quiet moments, is a powerful testament to this truth. For the Stoic, solitude is not a retreat from life, but a deeper engagement with it, a space where we can reflect, reconnect with our values, and strengthen our resolve. This strength is built not in isolation, but in the self-awareness that comes from stepping away from the world's noise. Just as a tree's roots grow more profound when it stands alone in a storm, so does a person's strength grow when the expectations and judgments of others unburden them. The Stoic man in solitude does not simply exist in isolation. He is transforming, a process of self-discovery that allows him to stand firm, unshaken by the winds of external opinions or fleeting distractions. It is here, in the quiet moments, that true resilience is born. 2. The true meaning of friendship. In a world that places immense value on relationships, friendships often become the currency by which we measure our worth. We are conditioned to believe that our number of friends directly correlates to our social standing, success, and happiness. Yet, the Stoics offer a radically different perspective, one that challenges the very foundation of this belief. For the Stoic, friendship is not an obligation or necessity, but a deliberate choice rooted in shared values and mutual respect. It is a rare gift, not an external validation of one's worth. A man with few friends, or perhaps none, has not failed to cultivate relationships but has carefully chosen to surround himself with only those who add value to his life. This does not suggest that he shuns others or rejects the possibility of connection, but that he has found peace within himself and does not depend on external affirmation to feel complete. In the Stoic view, true friendship is founded on integrity, not popularity, depth, or quantity. I am a bond forged not out of social obligation or the pursuit of status, but out of mutual understanding and a shared pursuit of virtue. The Stoic man does not allow the desire for friendship to dictate his happiness. The size of his social circle does not determine his worth, nor does he derive his sense of self from the approval of others. Instead, he measures his value by the strength of his character, the clarity of his purpose, and the integrity of his actions. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the best way to avenge yourself is not to be like that, referring to the actions of those who seek to manipulate or control others for their gain. In other words, the Stoic rejects the superficial relationships driven by ego or social expectation, instead choosing those aligned with his higher values and purpose. This perspective on friendship frees the Stoic from the anxieties and pressures of seeking validation from others. The man with few friends is secure because he has built a foundation of inner confidence. He knows true companionship is not about quantity but quality, the richness of a connection that transcends the surface level. The Stoic understands that choosing the right relationships enhances his growth without compromising his peace. In this, he finds the rarest form of security, a life unshaken by the need to conform to societal norms or to collect superficial relationships. 3. The concept of insecurity. Insecurity is a shadow that looms over many, often rooted in the desire for validation and the fear of being alone. It is a feeling that can arise when we measure our worth by the company we keep or the external praise we receive. Yet, the Stoic philosophers teach us a profound truth. Insecurity does not stem from the absence of others, but from how we perceive ourselves in the absence of others. Proper security comes not from the presence of friends or society's approval, but from an unshakable understanding of our nature and values. The Stoic approach to insecurity begins with the recognition that the opinions or expectations of others do not define our value. We are not weak because we stand alone. Instead, we are strong because we have learned to confront our fears and uncertainties without relying on external sources of comfort. In solitude, we are forced to face ourselves, not through the distractions of constant social interaction or the noise of external praise, but in the quiet of our mind. In this solitude, we discover that the root of our insecurity often lies in our attachment to others' judgments, and that true freedom is found when we can stand firm, regardless of what others may think or say. The Stoic philosophers, especially Epictetus, taught that not the events in our lives disturb us, but our judgments about those events. In other words, insecurity arises not from being alone, but from perceiving solitude as something to be feared or avoided. When we understand that our value is not contingent upon the presence of others, we become like the rock in the ocean, unmoved by the waves of social pressure or fleeting opinions. A man who is secure in himself knows that even in the absence of others, he remains whole. He is not defined by the number of friends he has, but by the strength of his character and the clarity of his purpose. In this way, insecurity dissipates, not because we have more people around us, but because we have learned to stand in our truth. When we face ourselves in solitude, we confront our deepest fears and insecurities, allowing them to be dissolved by the light of self-awareness. Through this inner work, we achieve true peace and resilience, for as Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his soul." Proper security is not found in the approval of others or the size of our social circles, but in the quiet confidence that arises from knowing who we are and standing firm in that knowledge, regardless of the external world's judgments. 4. Examples of solitude leading to greatness. In the modern world, we are constantly bombarded with messages that success is a product of networking, social status, and the crowd's approval. We are told that to achieve greatness, one must surround themselves with supporters and be praised by others. Yet, the Stoic philosophers challenge this conventional wisdom, presenting the idea that true greatness is often born in the silence of solitude, away from the noise and distractions of society. The lives of those who have achieved extraordinary things, not through the applause of the masses, but through unwavering focus and self-discipline, provide us with powerful examples of how solitude can lead to greatness. Consider the life of Nikola Tesla, the brilliant inventor whose ideas and innovations shaped the modern world. Tesla was a man who preferred the company of his thoughts to the crowd's admiration, choosing to live with few friends and often in complete isolation. The number of people around him did not define his greatness, but the clarity of his vision and dedication to his work. Tesla's capacity for invention was nurtured in his solitary hours, during which he delved deeply into the mysteries of science and technology, unperturbed by the external validation or recognition he did not seek. In his quiet moments, far from the distractions of society, he forged ideas that continue to impact the world today. Similarly, the life of Yukio Mishima, a renowned Japanese writer and philosopher, offers another example of the power of solitude. Mishima withdrew from the literary world and immersed himself in martial arts, meditation, and writing. He sought to sharpen his mind and body through solitary practice, believing he could confront the most profound truths of existence in silence. For Mishima, solitude was not an escape but a crucible where he could forge his philosophy, sharpen his spirit, and reach the pinnacle of his intellectual and creative potential. In his quiet, solitary moments, he found the strength to express profound ideas that would influence generations of thinkers and writers. Even in contemporary times, we see figures like Haruki Murakami, a Japanese author who was celebrated for his introspective novels, whose best works were born from long periods of solitary reflection. An avid runner, Murakami often speaks of how his solitary runs, free from distractions and social engagements, were the fertile ground for his most profound creative ideas. It is in solitude, he argues, that the mind is liberated from the external noise, allowing one to connect deeply with one's inner thoughts and creative impulses. These figures, Tesla, Mishima, and Murakami, demonstrate that solitude is not synonymous with weakness or a lack of social engagement, but rather a source of strength and creative potential. True greatness is often forged in silence, far from society's judgment. People are free to immerse themselves fully in their thoughts and passions. In these moments of quiet reflection, the seeds of innovation and transformation are sown, and the path to greatness is paved. Far from being an obstacle to success, solitude becomes the space to find clarity, focus, and fortitude to create something truly lasting. These examples serve as a reminder that the most significant accomplishments are often achieved not through external praise, but through the quiet determination to follow one's inner calling, undistracted by the opinions of others. 5. The power of self-reflection. Losing sight of our true selves is easy in a world teeming with distractions and external demands. We are constantly pulled in different directions, seeking validation from others, striving to meet societal expectations, and chasing after fleeting successes. Yet, the Stoic philosophers remind us that true strength and clarity are found not in the external world, but in our mind's quiet spaces. In self-reflection, the deliberate act of turning inward, we understand our deepest desires, confront our weaknesses, and discover the true nature of our being. Self-reflection is not a passive act of daydreaming or escaping the world. It is a profound, intentional process of facing oneself, of examining one's thoughts, actions, and motivations with honesty and rigor. The Stoics believed we could only cultivate wisdom and make decisions aligning with our highest values by regularly self-reflection. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of reflection in shaping one's character and actions. He understood that to navigate life with integrity and purpose, one must constantly assess one's thoughts and actions, ensuring that they are in harmony with one's principles rather than being swayed by the whims of the crowd or the demands of external circumstances. In this process of introspection, we are forced to confront the parts of ourselves that we often avoid, the fears, doubts, and insecurities that lurk in the shadows. But it is through this confrontation that we gain accurate self-awareness. Just as a sculptor chisels away at a block of marble to reveal the form within, we also strip away the false layers of ego, pride, and external influence to uncover our authentic selves. This is not an easy process. It requires courage to face our uncomfortable truths and acknowledge our flaws and imperfections without judgment or denial. Yet, only by doing so can we grow to our fullest potential. Self-reflection, for the Stoic, is not a one-time event but a continual practice, a daily commitment to understanding oneself more profoundly and acting with intention. When we reflect on our actions and thoughts in the quiet moments of solitude, we can recalibrate our minds and align ourselves with our core values. In these moments, we become attuned to our true purpose, allowing us to move through the world with clarity, purpose, and an unwavering sense of inner peace. The power of self-reflection is not limited to moments of quiet contemplation. It also manifests in how we live our lives. A profoundly reflective man can make wise decisions, navigate challenges with resilience, and live in a way aligned with his most authentic self. He is not swayed by the external noise of society or the opinions of others, for he has already cultivated a strong sense of who he is and what he stands for. Through self-reflection, he can uncover the wisdom within that leads him toward a life of purpose, fulfillment, and freedom from the chains of external validation. In this way, self-reflection becomes a powerful tool for personal growth. It is a practice that allows us to shed the weight of societal expectations and step into a life that is truly our own, one that is defined by our deepest values and the clarity of our inner vision. Through regular self-reflection, we unlock the potential for profound transformation, becoming the architects of our destiny, guided not by the world's noise but by the steady, unshakable voice of our true selves. 6. Misunderstanding of solitude by society. In the fast-paced, hyper-connected world we inhabit, solitude is often misunderstood. Society frequently views solitude as a sign of loneliness, social inadequacy, or emotional deficiency. We are taught to value social interaction above all else, believing that fulfillment and success can only be attained through constant engagement with others. This deeply ingrained belief leads many to fear solitude, seeing it as a void, a place where one is left to face their deficiencies. Yet, the Stoic philosophers challenge this view, offering a radically different perspective on solitude, one that reveals it not as a space of emptiness but as a sanctuary for growth, clarity, and self-mastery. For the Stoic, Solitude is not a punishment but a deliberate choice, a space where one can retreat from the external world to find peace within. In these moments of stillness, a person can reflect deeply, free from the noise and distractions of daily life, and reconnect with their true self. The Stoic ideal is not one of total isolation but of intentional solitude, where the individual consciously chooses to step away from the clamor of society to cultivate inner peace and wisdom. In this space, one is not alone in a way that causes despair or discomfort, but instead fosters resilience and self-awareness. The misconception that solitude must be avoided stems from the societal belief that others must constantly validate us to feel complete. Yet, the Stoic perspective teaches us that true completeness comes from within. It is not the number of friends we have or the amount of social interaction we engage in that defines us, but rather our ability to stand firm in our values and find contentment in our company. By removing ourselves from the constant search for approval or connection, we can explore our innermost thoughts, uncover our true desires, and face our vulnerabilities without fear of judgment. Consider, for instance, the lives of iconic figures who embraced solitude for personal growth. Steve Jobs, known for his revolutionary ideas and innovative work with Apple, was a man who spent long periods in solitude, carefully contemplating his vision and direction. His ability to focus on his work and think independently, free from the pressures of societal expectations, enabled him to create groundbreaking products that changed the world. Jobs was not isolated from the world out of necessity, but out of a deep commitment to his mission and inner clarity. He understood that true creativity and innovation arise from moments of quiet reflection, not from the noise of external opinions. Similarly, Vincent van Gogh, one of history's greatest artists, spent much of his life in solitude, disconnected from the bustling social circles of his time. Though often misunderstood and isolated, it was in this solitude that he created some of the most potent and iconic works of art ever produced. Van Gogh's life illustrates that solitude is not a lack of love or human connection, but a space where one can engage deeply with one's inner world, free from the distractions of everyday life. His genius emerged not from the crowd's approval but from the quiet, undisturbed moments when he could genuinely connect with his creative spirit. These examples show that solitude can be a fertile ground for personal growth, self-discovery, and achievement. In the quiet, unhurried moments, we find the clarity to focus on our most important goals and cultivate the strength to pursue them with determination. Solitude is not something to fear but something valuable and a tool that enables us to reconnect with our true purpose and align our actions with our deepest values. The Stoic wisdom reminds us that we are never truly alone as long as we can stand firmly in our truth, guided by the inner strength that solitude helps us develop. In a world that increasingly values superficial connections and external validation, the Stoic call to solitude is a radical act of self-liberation. It challenges the societal narrative that we must constantly seek out relationships or societal approval to be fulfilled. Instead, it invites us to turn inward, embrace the silence, and find peace in the knowledge that our worth is not determined by the opinions of others, but by the integrity of our character. Solitude is not a form of deprivation but a pathway to freedom, clarity, and self-mastery. 7. Freedom through self-mastery. True freedom often seems elusive in a world driven by external pressures and the constant need for validation. We are told that freedom comes from external circumstances, being independent of others, achieving success, or breaking free from societal constraints. Yet, the Stoic philosophers understood that absolute freedom is not found in external achievements or relationships, but in the mastery of one's mind and emotions. True freedom is the ability to act according to one's values, not as a reaction to the expectations and judgments of others. For the Stoic, freedom is not simply escaping the external world but gaining dominion over one's internal world. It is the capacity to control one's thoughts, desires, and reactions in the face of life's challenges. This type of freedom allows a person to navigate the ups and downs of life with unwavering composure, undisturbed by the chaos around them. Not the absence of difficulties defines freedom, but the ability to face those difficulties with clarity, resilience, and a sense of purpose. A man who masters himself is free because he is no longer enslaved by his impulses, his fears, or the fleeting opinions of others. He has cultivated an inner fortress of self-discipline and self-awareness that cannot be easily shaken. He does not need the approval of others to feel secure, for he has already established his worth through the strength of his character and his ability to live by his values. This self-mastery gives him the freedom to act independently without being swayed by the expectations of others or the societal pressures that so often seek to dictate the course of our lives. The Stoic ideal of freedom is not one of total isolation or detachment from the world, but rather a profound sense of independence from within. A free man is not dependent on external circumstances for his sense of peace or purpose. He can pursue his goals with determination and focus, knowing that his value lies not in external success, but in the integrity of his actions and the clarity of his vision. This freedom is the product of constant self-reflection and the commitment to live according to one's highest principles. When we think of figures like Marcus Aurelius, who faced the pressures of ruling an empire while maintaining a deep commitment to Stoic philosophy, we see that true freedom is not about avoiding challenges, but mastering the mind in the midst of them. Aurelius was not immune to hardship, but his ability to remain steadfast and focused on his duties, guided by wisdom, courage, and justice, allowed him to lead with clarity and purpose. His inner freedom, grounded in self-mastery, gave him the strength to navigate the complexities of life with a sense of peace that transcended the external world. Similarly, modern figures like Elon Musk, who have built transformative companies and pushed the boundaries of innovation, embody this Stoic ideal of freedom through self-mastery. Musk's unwavering focus on his vision, despite the relentless criticisms and doubts of others, illustrates the power of internal freedom. He is not bound by society's judgments or the crowd's fleeting opinions. His freedom comes from his ability to maintain clarity of purpose and act according to his values, regardless of external circumstances. In this sense, freedom is not a gift bestowed upon us by the world, but something we create within ourselves. It is the result of mastering our minds, aligning our actions with our deepest values, and living with a sense of purpose that is unaffected by the judgment of others. True freedom is not found in the pursuit of external success or approval, but in the ability to stand firm in our truth, guided by wisdom, virtue, and an unwavering commitment to self-mastery. Through this, we unlock the power to live authentically and to navigate the world with the peace and resilience that come from knowing we are genuinely free. 8. Choosing relationships deliberately. In the relentless pursuit of success and recognition, relationships are often seen as a necessary means to an end, connections that must be forged for personal gain or social standing. Yet, the Stoic philosophers teach us that relationships should never be about mere utility or external validation, but about mutual growth, shared values, and cultivating virtue. A Stoic man understands that not all relationships are worth pursuing, and those that truly matter do not demand constant validation or serve superficial purposes. Instead, they are those that enhance his ability to live according to his highest principles, those that nurture his inner peace, and those that align with his core values. The Stoic approach to relationships is one of intentionality. Rather than surrounding himself with a vast network of acquaintances or seeking to please others with shallow connections, a Stoic chooses his relationships carefully, recognizing that the people he allows into his life should reflect his values. According to Stoic philosophy, true friendships are built on integrity, trust, and mutual respect, not social convenience or the desire for approval. A Stoic man does not need a large circle of friends to feel complete. He needs deep, meaningful relationships that support his personal growth and the pursuit of virtue. This selective approach to relationships provides freedom from the pressures of societal expectations and the superficiality that often defines modern social interactions. The Stoic does not feel the need to conform to the expectations of others or maintain relationships that drain his energy or distract him from his purpose. Instead, he cultivates relationships that encourage introspection, wisdom, and resilience, allowing him to grow stronger in his character. It is not the quantity of relationships that determines the quality of one's life, but the depth and integrity of our connections. A few meaningful relationships, founded on genuine respect and mutual growth, are far more valuable than a vast network of acquaintances built on empty pleasantries. Consider figures like Steve Jobs, known for his selectiveness in relationships. Jobs was not one to surround himself with people who did not align with his vision or who would distract him from his purpose. His relationships were chosen based on shared ideals and the potential for mutual growth rather than social obligation or status. By choosing relationships deliberately, Jobs could remain focused on his mission and preserve the clarity of purpose that drove his innovations. His ability to form relationships that genuinely mattered allowed him to stay true to his vision without being swayed by the pressures of external validation or fleeting social trends. In the same way, the Stoic man understands that relationships are not a necessity but a choice, one that must be made with wisdom and discernment. He does not allow himself to be drawn into relationships that compromise his peace or distract him from his path. Instead, he builds a life filled with relationships that reflect his values, challenge him to grow, and support him in living a life of virtue. By choosing relationships deliberately, the Stoic man secures his peace, knowing that the right connections enhance his character rather than diminish it. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to relationships frees the individual from the societal pressures of conformity and superficial connection. It teaches us that the most important relationships are not the ones that are built on popularity or external approval, but the ones that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and the shared pursuit of wisdom. In choosing relationships that align with our deepest values, we enrich our lives and strengthen our ability to live authentically, guided by the principles of Stoic philosophy. 9. Self-worth beyond external validation. In a world where self-worth is often measured by external markers, accolades, social media likes, the opinions of peers, it is easy to become trapped in the cycle of seeking validation from others. We are conditioned to believe that our value is only meaningful if recognized by those around us. Thus, we constantly chase after approval, striving to meet the ever-changing expectations of society. Yet, the Stoics understood something far more profound. True self-worth does not depend on the praise or recognition of others, but on the integrity of our character and the alignment of our actions with our highest values. For the Stoic, self-worth is not a reflection of what others think of us, but of how we live according to our principles, regardless of external judgment. The Stoic teaches us that seeking validation from others is a path that leads to insecurity and dissatisfaction. When we base our self-worth on the fleeting opinions of others or the external markers of success, we are at the mercy of forces beyond our control. These external validations are fragile, temporary, and often hollow. The praise of others may feel good in the moment, but it is not a lasting source of fulfillment. The Stoics remind us that true self-worth comes from living authentically, acting with virtue, and maintaining a sense of inner peace that is not swayed by the ever-shifting tides of societal approval. Only when we stop measuring ourselves by the standards set by others can we begin to cultivate a deep, unshakable sense of value from within. According to philosophy, it is not about self-worth striving to meet the crowd's expectations, but about acting according to one's values and virtues. The Stoic man knows that his value is not defined by how others perceive him, but by how he lives his life with wisdom, courage, and integrity. He understands that true fulfillment comes from doing what is right, not from seeking the approval of others. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When we focus on living a life of purpose, guided by our inner values, we free ourselves from the need for validation from the outside world. The lives of great thinkers and leaders throughout history bear testimony to the Stoic belief that self-worth comes from within. Figures like George Orwell, who stood firm in his convictions even when it led to public criticism, and Elon Musk, who pursued his vision with relentless determination despite the constant skepticism of the world, exemplify the Stoic ideal of self-worth. These men did not measure their value by the applause or disapproval of others, but by their ability to stay true to their beliefs and to act with integrity, regardless of external consequences. They understood that true worth is not contingent upon being liked or admired by others, but upon living in alignment with one's deepest values. For the Stoic, self-worth is a matter of inner mastery. It is the ability to know oneself deeply, to act with purpose, and to live with courage, regardless of the opinions of others. By grounding our sense of value in our actions, virtues, and capacity to live according to our principles, we build a lasting foundation of self-worth that the judgments of the external world cannot shake. When we stop seeking validation and instead focus on living authentically, we free ourselves from the tyranny of other people's opinions and find a sense of peace and fulfillment that no external success or praise can provide. According to Stoicism, accurate self-worth results from mastering ourselves and living a life of integrity, not from the fleeting recognition of others. 10. Living authentically. Living authentically has become an act of profound resistance in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, encouraging us to conform to its fleeting standards and expectations. We are conditioned from a young age to fit into molds, whether society's definition of success defines those molds, the approval of others, or the desire for fame and recognition. The modern world often leads us to believe that our value lies in what we can acquire, how others perceive us, and how well we meet the external demands of success. Yet, the Stoic philosophers understood a more profound truth. True fulfillment, peace, and purpose come not from the world's expectations but from living a life that is true to oneself. According to Stoic thought, living authentically is to live in alignment with one's values, act with integrity, and pursue what is meaningful, not for external rewards, but because it reflects one's true nature. This is not an easy path. It requires the courage to step away from the noise of societal expectations and the pressures of fitting in. It requires the ability to reject the validation of others, to be unmoved by the world's judgments, and to trust in one's inner guidance. For the Stoic, authenticity is not about seeking admiration or approval, but about living in a way congruent with one's deepest beliefs and purpose. Living authentically means prioritizing self-awareness, reflection, and consistency in thought and action. A man who lives authentically knows who he is, what he values, and why he does what he does. His actions are not motivated by the desire for recognition, nor does the fear of rejection or failure drive them. Instead, he acts because it aligns with his inner truth. This inner clarity allows him to navigate life with purpose and resilience, no matter the challenges or obstacles others may face. Think of figures like Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi, who lived authentically despite immense adversity. After 27 years in prison, Mandela never wavered from his commitment to freedom and equality, not because he sought fame or validation, but because he believed sincerely in the righteousness of his cause. With his quiet defiance and commitment to nonviolence, Gandhi remained true to his principles, undeterred by the overwhelming forces of colonial rule and societal expectations. These leaders did not chase after external success, but followed their moral compass, creating legacies that would last for generations. The Stoic approach to living authentically encourages us to reflect daily on our actions and intentions, asking ourselves whether our choices align with the values we hold most dear. It is a call to embrace the courage to live as we are, free from the need to impress or conform. Through this authenticity, we achieve true peace and inner strength. For when we live in harmony with our true selves, we are no longer at the mercy of others' opinions or the shifting tides of external circumstances. Living authentically also brings a more profound sense of fulfillment. It frees us from the constant pursuit of validation and approval, allowing us to focus on what truly matters: our growth, relationships, and contributions to the world. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By living authentically, we stop seeking validation in the fleeting praise of others and start deriving our strength and peace from within. In this inner alignment, true freedom is found: freedom from external validation, freedom to be who we are, and freedom to live a life of purpose guided by our deepest values. Ultimately, living authentically is the most profound form of freedom. It is not about rejecting relationships, society, or engagement with the world, but about engaging in a way that is true to who we are, unshaken by external expectations. Through this authenticity, we find peace, purpose, and the power to create a lasting legacy that transcends the superficial, the temporary, and the fleeting, leaving behind a mark of integrity and strength that will endure over time. Conclusion. As we reflect on the Stoic teachings and the profound wisdom they offer, it becomes clear that true strength and peace are not found in external validation, the approval of others, or the pursuit of fleeting social connections. True freedom is found within the ability to master oneself, to live authentically, and to embrace solitude not as a form of loneliness, but as a powerful tool for self-discovery and growth. The Stoic path is not easy. It requires courage, discipline, and the willingness to face oneself in the quiet moments of reflection. But it is in these moments that we unlock the true power of the human spirit: the strength to live according to our deepest values, the resilience to stand firm in the face of life's challenges, and the peace that comes from knowing that external forces do not determine our worth, but by the integrity of our character. The man who walks the Stoic path is a man who is not dependent on the praise or approval of others. He understands his intrinsic value is his ability to act with wisdom, courage, and integrity. He embraces solitude not as a void but as a sanctuary where he can connect with his most authentic self, free from the distractions and pressures of the world. In this solitude, he discovers his strength, builds his inner fortitude, and learns to navigate life with clarity and purpose. As you embark on your journey towards self-mastery, remember that true freedom comes not from external circumstances but from within. By embracing the Stoic principles of self-reliance, integrity, and the courage to live authentically, you can cultivate a life of purpose, resilience, and lasting peace. You don't need a large circle of friends or the crowd's applause to find fulfillment. You need the ability to stand firm in your truth, act with integrity, and trust your city for growth and transformation. If you found value in these Stoic teachings and are committed to further exploring the path of self-mastery, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you join a community of like-minded individuals dedicated to personal growth, self-awareness, and living a life guided by ancient wisdom. Together, we can continue to explore the timeless principles of Stoicism and other philosophies that empower us to become the best versions of ourselves. Don't miss the upcoming videos, where we dive deeper into Stoic wisdom and practical ways to apply it to modern life. Join us on this journey of self-discovery and growth, and let's build lives of purpose and inner strength rooted in the timeless teachings of Stoicism.